何医生，你可以说一下，你童年的时候在这个大马路，你还记得特别什么东西呢？
OK，其实童年在大马路是相当快乐的因为那个时候不久之后啊1945年就是日本军投降嘛，那个时候英国军回来你知道我们新加坡的华人都很紧张，最紧张的一件事就是教育，所以日本人1945年8月的时候投降，我们十月，我记得是10月3号，1945年10月就开课了啊。开课当年我也是不算超龄了，应该是8岁了，超龄1年了。那么就马上进去小学1年级了。一年级因为后头呢是有一间名校，华校小学名校我爸爸本来给我读英校的那个特秀那个时候，但是那个时候我的2个脚是有那些所谓脓疮啊，那个是皮肤感染了。那边那个headmaster 那个我就叫大先生不让我去报读，所以我父亲给我报读家里后面的养正，
嗯
所以读养正是很开心的，其实很开心啊。其实去养正是很轻松，因为那个时候我在呃暂时的时候我已经读了不少，认了不少字了。那个时候，父亲也教了不少，我进去那个私塾也不少，所以读书很轻松的，很轻松。那每天呢就上学大概5分钟到6分钟就到学校了，
嗯
到学校就哇又有大操场啊，又有篮球场又可以打球多么开心！所以读书是很顺利的，不是很顺利，都养正
养
我也是
正是一间华
超龄。
校是吗？
养正华校是广卫照那个工会办的一个，好像叫碧山亭办的那个时候，所以我们那个时候是教学讲广东话，但是呢进了学校不久，老师说我们要跟民国政府的政策要讲国语了，所以我的国语是讲不三不四的国语，老师是用广东话教学的，是平常教学完了就是用广东话。那时候用国语所谓国语就是中国国语啦，那时候我们叫国语，现在我们叫华语我也是算超龄一点，但是跟其他同学在一起，同学的超龄更离谱，有些他们已经15岁了，
嗯
比我大5、6年的也不是。我进去的时候应该是8岁，所以其实有时候离谱到我有一些同学小学毕业，后来小学毕业就马上结婚了。我不久之前碰到一个同学，他他是跟我同学，但是已经做了曾祖父了。所以那个时候我在中正学，在养正学的东西是很开心呃，但是我们的老师的师资不是很好玩的。我跟你听了你都会发笑，因为他们来自不同的地方嘛，因为他们大部分是广东啊，大部分广东都是从中国逃难过来的，薪水才100多块，我知道，薪水100多块，但是也有一些是从有福建来的有一些从河北四川海南什么人都有，所以在我学的华语是南腔北调，南腔北调。有时候跟人家讲华语的时候就在不自觉间把那些广东话语都讲了出来了。比如说等一会儿 我们老师叫我是等一整天，等个整干。啊，所以有时候叫我们，他们也没有好好的去查字典啊，好像涡旋啊，好像你跟我吵架，有人叫涡旋这个纠纷，他看我们都干旋，还干掉了干，跟涡字差不多，好像有边不读边，没有边读上下，嗯，还有很多很多乌龙的东西的，还有很多乌龙的东西。啊一加起来是二，一加起来一加二是三，一加麦二就是三，加麦嘛，广东话加麦。所以有时候后来我就碰到一些你们这一代的老师，有时候无意中讲出来，口讲了出来了，就知道哎呀闯祸了，我讲的是广东话语。但是对方已经给让他们笑了，没有一点修养。我们是这样啊，我们虽然是到现在，我们还是要学汉语拼音，不过有时候还是漏了嘴，没有办法，真的没有办法。所以南迁北调，所以那个时候海南老师就抄书，叫我们抄书，叫我们去烧书。你跟我把这一篇文，这篇这个课文抄掉，抄起来的就烧起来。四川老师就说跟你们讲，你不会要问我，所以他跟女同学讲，你会不会？不会你要问我，你不问我，我问你，你不问我，我问你，你说是不是很惨？假如你跟那些在现在这一代讲这个东西，也能大笑话，是吧？这就是我们要过来，所以我老到大学过后才跟孩子学汉语拼音，不是不要学，但学了，但是无论如何口音很难改，像几十年的口音很难改的，没有办法。你要讲一个金片子啊，讲金腔，根本上是不可能的事情，除非你在那边生活10年8年了，没有办法。
对，很有趣。我可以问你你在华校读的科目是什么科目呢？
哦，那个华校是主要是国文、英文，我们不叫数学，叫算术，这3科是必修科。假如你不及格的话，要留班。然后有自然，自然应该英文是 natural science，也应该是说现在是 science elementary science 的，还有图工、图画跟手工、音乐，还有就是公民，公民就是教你怎么去做人呢，
嗯
所以这些科目，但是前面3个是必修课，你考不到就，最重要就是你的品行，品行是分甲乙丙丁，就是 A B C D。假如拿到丁，你考在第一名都没有用，还是要留班。所以证明学校很注重品德教育，品德教育。所以这个华教的传统是应该是很好的，就老实讲，这个要保留这个东西。及格分数是60分，不是50分，不是50分。所以也证明双语教育本来就是在华教育很注重的，不过差别是程度而已的，差别程度也。因为好像你读公教中学，你读到高中毕业，中英文都是顶呱呱，但是你另外一些中学程度不同，也许你的英文是有小五小六，英校的小五小六的程度也不一定
你们有读历史吗？
啊。
是，
历史也有
嗯
我们中的是中国历史，对不起，我漏了历史地理，
嗯
我漏了讲历史，我们是读中国历史。
嗯
地理也是读中国地理，只要上了中学才有世界地理跟欧洲史其他的东西。所以我们从小公民教育、历史教育，我们对于中国的历朝历代的历史呢，也先有一个打下一个基础，先有一个知道。嗯，我那个时候我们还要向孙中山先生行礼的，
嗯，
因为他是我们的国父。那时候孙中山先生是国父。
那个时代你们有没有好像你们的老师有没有受这个政治的影响呢？中国政治发展。
有一些是有的，因为他们在中国受过苦。我在历史课的时候他们讲好在中国怎么受苦他讲书讲得哭起来的，说怎么样受到这个政府腐败他们要吃苦害到他的家人呢要吃树皮，要吃观音土，观音土就是吃梨了。啊、要用麻布袋来做冬天的时候做寒衣他的妈妈怎么样去冻死这些都有的。那么讲到古文呢，当然呢，古文的时候也是很悲惨的故事他也写到哭的，所以有时候我们听到很感动的。
嗯，
这个有点对我们多多少少有点教育了，就是说我们不可以被人欺负了。嗯。
有没有说好像一些老师有这个左派的影响呢？
左派老师当然有了，当
嗯，
然有些还是被殖民政府抓去，这个是有的。他们有些左派思想的，言谈之间还在教导说，我们多多少少一听到他讲，但是很憎恨那些啊腐败的国民党呢，也很憎恨那些殖民地政府呢，因为尤其是好像讲到鸦片战争的时候，那些被八国联军的那个火烧圆明园那些故事也听了真的都是咬牙切齿的。
嗯，
所以接待人没有这样的教育，没有不知道一个人要富国强民是很重要的。所以我也希望我们的新加坡教育要很注重爱自己的国家，爱富国强民，这个是很重要的。
我想问你，你读书的时候，好像回家的时候，你是在哪里？好像温习功课做这个作业的呢？
哦，我在我的家里的二楼，
啊，
二楼就是我爸爸休息的地方，睡觉的房间。我就在一个圆桌子，有上面铺一块云石就是咖啡店那种东西，我就在那边做功课的，
嗯，
就是这样，没有书桌的。我差不多20多岁，我才有我自己的书桌，自己的床的。嗯。
所以那个在房间里面，它的有用灯吗？还是够亮吗？
普通一般一般的，一般一
啊，
般的。嗯，不过那时候年轻了，眼睛视力比较好，就没有怎么样。现在就不行了啦，
啊，
没有自己的书桌，没有自己的灯的，没有的。阅读灯根本上天方夜谭的。
嗯，养正小学今天还在对吗？
杨震
啊，
杨震现在是国民型因为私立学校你要自己负责那个财政开支吧。后来越来越少人送进华校了，因为
嗯
都是跑到英校读书，因为读英校前途比较好嘛。你最差，你可以在政府找到一份公务员的工作，假如你乖乖的话，做到老，那个时候还有养老金。所以后来慢慢的变成新加坡独立了，就国民型的学校，而且学校都是政府办的，所以就以后就没有这样多的资金办私立学校了，因为现在的社会，现在的 教育水平、现在的要求，都是钱了，没有钱你怎么样去教材啊，什么用的东西啊，你怎么去筹管，是吧？这个是发展的过程没有办法的。
One last question. Yeah. So how do you feel about the transformation of Chinatown to what it is today?
I'm trying to choose an adjective, man. Okay, pathetic. Pathetic. Now, if I want to tell my younger people, meaning families, members of my family, I'm trying to educate my nieces and my nephews. I tell them, you want to know what Singapore was like, my time when I was your age, I take them to Penang. And I did. Some years back, I took my nephew to Penang, and I demonstrated to him the landmarks, the kind of landmarks and the kind of the road network and the traffic. And we have hawkers. Yes, we have hawkers, and we have trishaws in Penang, in Georgetown. And I pointed out that was how Singapore looked like in Chinatown, in Georgetown. And then I take him to those narrow lanes, in Penang, Love Lane, Burma Road, exactly like Singapore. And if you want to get the feel of the entire atmosphere, the smell of the joss stick as you walk along Nanking Road, you walk along the other part, the Hokkien proximity, which is the Hokkien Street, Hokkien Road, Chin Street, Amoy Street. The smell of the drain, the smell of the joss stick, the smell of the sweat of people, because people very dirty. We're all very dirty people. And then the clothes, the hanging of the clothes outside the window from the shop houses where they live in. The entire of all that area, the word is the ubiquitous. They're all everywhere. All that you picture yourself, the kind of air we breathe in. It's different from the air I breathe in today. So when I go to the Chinatown, what do I find? I find continental serving of food.
You're talking about Singapore, as our
In Singapore,
Chinatown. Right.
Chinatown in Singapore today, even the kebabs, and then even the Indian food that I get in Chinatown, which in my time was specifically very, very segregated. It's quintessentially Chinatown food, nothing else. And if you want to eat the non-Chinese food, the Malay food, you got to go to another part of Singapore's city. You take the pilot taxi, and the pilot taxi. Take the pilot taxi to go and eat your delicacies in other part of Singapore. But in Chinatown, you only confined to that kind of the eating availability of the eating dishes. And then if you want Teochew, you go to the other part of the Clarke part where you have that what is that, the big swing? What's the name of that place? The big swing, that area there? The Flyer there, that area there. And then if you want the Cantonese, you go to Nanking Street. The Hokkien, you go to Amoy Street. That was that. So it's pathetic. We lost that culture. We lost that modus vivendi, the way of living. And we lost that, how shall I say, that survivalism, because we live with that kind of budget that we had, 30 cents per bowl of hae mee, 30 cents of char kway teow. Today, you go there, I got to make sure I have at least in my pocket no less than $20, $30 to patronize places in Chinatown today.
I mean, I think the word you use there is completely correct, right? It's living. Because once you take the people out, the residents out of Chinatown, no one lives there anymore. The whole place becomes touristy and commercialized rather than a lived space.
Precisely. And the word Chinatown is a misnomer. You can't describe that area, the proximity, as Chinatown any longer. In like manner, you cannot describe Kampung Kembangan, the Malay quarters there, Kampung Ubi, as the Malay center, Geylang Serai. No longer. In like manner, you can't talk about Little India, where all those roads were fed up, the vicinity there. They were really Indians, But today, it's offices, and the tearing down of old buildings and the construction of apartments. And if I go to Geylang Serai, I lose that Malay, that sense of that Malay, the culture. So that's Chinatown, which is no longer a Chinatown. And the Chinatown, the label is probably in my own sentimental way, a nostalgic terminology I use to bring back the past, where I connect with my father, with my grandmother, with my relatives, with Chinese New Year, with birthdays, with the celebration. My father, he's Buddhist, of course. He prays on special occasion, and then he goes to Chinatown for his favorite makan, his favorite stalls to eat. Now, in those days, I tell you, my father tells me even Tan Laksa would go there to have his favorite, whatever, hammy, Tan Laksa, and people like Tan Keong Chun, the nephew of Tan Kaki, and his cohort, all those millionaires, they still go back to those type of the surroundings in Chinatown, just to get back that taste of the old cuisine that remains what it is ever since that generation. You see the dynamics, the duration of the operation of these hawkers. We are talking of 3 generations. Take our favorite, you and me, our favorite Kwanchang. The guy's name is Sun. His grandfather was the one who operated in Amoy Street. The recipe from China. And my father was still around to enjoy. And Sun is about my age. Sun was only my age, helping his father to prepare the dishes for us, and in serving. So when the dish is prepared by the father, he would come and serve to our table, and the table that we set, my father's time, the round table of the Kwanchang in Amoy Street, and there were something like 3 tables, and then the stools we set, all very dirty, I'm telling you, because after the spitting on the removing of the bones and everything, or whatever material that is not edible, you throw it on the table. He uses the same cloth from morning to evening, probably not even washing, just rinsing it, and the same cloth again and again and again. So my father always discouraged us to patronize, but he, out of his guilt, would patronize, because we still desire that tradition, that love for things ancient, for things of that era. We still love it, because it's part and parcel of our upbringing, that survivalism in us, that existentialism in us.
Yes, I was born in 1961, actually 2 days before National Day. My birthday was on the 7th of August, so National Day was the 9th of August. Merchant Road is actually a road leading from New Bridge Road, Wayang Street, into Reed Bridge, whereby you can cross the bridge, which over Singapore River, and then you go to North Boat Quay and towards River Valley Road. Merchant Road, my shop was actually in the center of this stretch of shop houses along Merchant Road. Besides my shops on the left and right, there was one theatre house, a Chinese theatre house, but it was not doing any play when I was born. But I still remember that during that time, my childhood time, we used to play inside this building. It's like a almost 2-3 story high. You walk in with a very high ceiling. You can actually see the roof itself. But later it turned into like stores inside, the small little stores, selling clothes, daily necessity items and all that. And then right in front of this theatre house, which is called and at the front there is a shop selling pen, famous pen like Schaefer, Parker, Waterman, and all the very famous pen. And then on the other opposite this shop is someone selling medicine, Chinese medicine, TCM. In fact, this pen shop is known as Pet Kiali. And Pet Kiali today, the grandchildren is doing it. Is at if I'm not wrong, it's at HDB flat besides OG, People's Park OG, which is Upper Cross Street. Yeah. So some of the shops around the area, in fact, when we were resettled, some of the shop took up the HDB shops around Kingsey Road area or Upper Cross Street area. Yeah. And then opposite my shops, there are also confectionery shops, which they import sweets, candies, biscuits from Malaysia, China, and they even have Danish biscuits in those days. So quite a variety, and they are doing wholesale, retail, and they also export. Yeah, and also directly opposite my shop, there is this building, which is a 4-story concrete building. My shop house and the rest are all made of wood. Only except this building is a 4-story concrete building. Over there, we always call Si Lao, 4-story Si Lao. So when people ask, hey, which where are you staying? Oh, we stay at the Si Lao there. Then there, it's like icon, you see. But this building, some says that in the past it was used as a customs office. Below this building, at the corner is actually one selling liquor, import export dealing, retail liquor and hard liquor and cigarettes also. So besides this liquor shop, there is one coffee shop known as Nam Hua Chiang. Nam Hua Chiang, there is a shop. There's a store selling Teochew fish porridge, and then they also sell the fish head steamboat. Which is actually they are still his son is still doing this business at Jalan Sultan, known as Nam Hua Chiang Dr Loh Nam Hua Chiang fish head steamboat. Yeah.
You said Si Lao, so you are Teochew?
Teochew Nang. Yeah, the area, in fact, area like New Bridge Road all the way to Singapore River, and then over this side is Upper Pickling Streets, all the way to River Valley Road and all that. Now that whole area is majority are Teochew. So it's like the Teochew territory so it's like Emung Street, Emung Gui, that side is Hokkien, Chinatown is Cantonese, So those days were like that, Then ours is, that's why sometimes they say, oh, where you stay? Oh, Teochew Goi. Teochew Goi cannot be called Teochew Goi. Teochew Goi is that the Teochew, but which part of Teochew Goi? They have to be more specified. Cha Chung Tao. Cha Chung Tao is, it means like, because those days the Tongtan, right at the end of this Singapore River, there is one by the river. There's I've seen this, the Tongtan was there for servicing. So, can see them chipping off the old wood and then change new wood and then do the waterproofing and the painting and all that. Yeah.
And Merchant Road, was there a Teochew name for it?
Be Cheng Koi, which is Ma Zhen Jie. Be Cheng Koi. Yeah, Ma Zhen Jie, Be Cheng Koi. But when you mention Be Cheng Koi, not many people they know, but it's not so popular as if you use the name Seng Pa Sak Ha, New Market Road, Seng Pa Sak Ha, then or Tong Ji Wee Yi. Tong Ji Wee Yi is Tong Ji Yi Yuan, which is Wayang Street, the old Tong Ji Medical Hall, the building. Yeah, and then another road, which is Ching Hing Street. They call it Seng Goi Lai. Ching Hing Street is mostly all the shops, a majority they import vegetable from Camera Highlands and mostly from Camera Highlands those days, Malaysia, and then New Market Road. New Market Road, it depends on which side you walk. If you walk on, let's say from Merchant Road, you walk to the left, it's more to the old subordinate court, which is now, Furuma Hotel, that side. But if you walk by the right, it leads you to Ilendola Street Market, which is just beside Singapore River. Yes. So Saint Pasak car, then they say, which part? Oh, yeah, Pasak your point lah, Asi. They call it the court. They call it Pole. Those days, a lot of nicknames lah, Pole lah. Then there's another road after New Market Road. It's called, in Teochew dialect, it's called Sampayang Tenghang, because there was a mosque. Even today, it's just behind the MOM building. There's a so-called the most oldest mosque in Singapore.
Sing Pasat, is that referring to the new Alambro market?
Yes. You can say that it's refer to Ilembora Street Market, but because the name of the road is called New Market Road, so they call it Sing Pasat.
Okay. You just gave us a valuable Teochew lesson there in the history.
Yes.
So amazing, right? I'm very struck by what you mentioned just now, the importer-exporter, right? The liquor as well as the vegetables also you mentioned. So these were actually very Teochew businesses, yeah?
Yeah, you can say so. Because confectionery, from what I know, not only the Teochew people they do it, the Hokkiens, like Hok Hai Building, there's one Hok Lam something. They are also main importer for all these stuff. But vegetable-wise, besides the Seng Koi Lai, which is they call it Ching Heng Street, Beach Road, there is another. They call it the supply center. So that means all the vegetable comes in from Malaysia. All the lorry truck, they were parked either at my place, which is Seng Koi Lai, or Carpenter Streets. I remember Carpenter Street, Seng Koi Lai, and New Bridge Road. And then there were a few others, but these are the drop-off point lah. But because of this business going on, the whole entire place was never like a sleep. Never, it's like 24 hours. Daytime is shops like us, coffee shops, a market are doing business. And then nighttime, Ilembola Street will have those days, the bum boats or the fisherman boats, they can have their boats right all the way just besides the Ilembola Street market by the Singapore River, and then they unload but in the evening, in the early morning, Seng Koi Lai was one place where all the vegetables were unloaded, they were packed, repacked, they were cleaned, they were washed, just like Carpenter Street. Was it Hong Kong Street or Carpenter Street? It's the same. Middle of the night, if you go there, it's like a different world. But when they strike, the whole place was all cleaned up, like nothing happened like that. So those were the days. The livelihood, I would say, was like, everybody is struggling, is working. The nightlife is working life. It's not like today. Nightlife is like go entertainment and all that.
那个时候大马路的这个店屋，他们的情况是怎么样子的？他们的 condition？
不错的，因为那个时候大马路，因为以前的人是很相信东西是成行成市，所以大家都是卖同样的东西的，所以大马路起码有10家是卖黄金的，我们是其中之一，我可以给你数出来，因为我每天都经过他们的家嘛，又有祥龙又有隔壁是大丰合昌龙兴广义南京祥龙鹤兴曼泰来这些我都可以背出来的，我现在还记得，还记得。 那么那边有洋人乐啊，什么明光斋啊那边，所以每一家都很好生意的。因为那个时候啊，每个人的观念呢，受过日本的那些香蕉钞票的苦啊，突然间宣布无效，所以每个人宁可有黄金放在身上，好过突然间宣布这个不值钱。那个是因为殖民地的时候打仗嘛，那个时候你来你知道突然间英国人说我不来了，我不干了嘛，好，怎么搞？所以那个时候就是一夜之间就破产了，好像日本人这样，所以他们就买黄金。买黄金的好处，因为他们也不相信银行，他们不会把钱放在银行里面的。那个时候不要以为银行很好生意，好，没有像 DBS 啊、OCBC 这样好的。他们买黄金自己放在家里，宁可不要利息，而且银行也不会有很好生意的。所以呢，他们没有钱的时候呢，怎么解决问题啊？就卖给当店来拿些现款，3个月期限，你可以把你的那个金链而且金手镯给取回来，给一点利息，其实那个利息也不便宜，应该3%的，我也许不止，我也忘记了，不像现在是很低的，所以给了利息，你就可以把那个你的东西卖回来了。所以第一是保值了，也第二希望黄金起价把它卖掉，还有钱，还有赚钱。那另外呢，就是人家家里人请客的时候呢，那么他可以把一条金链的，好像一个锁链，要放在上酒楼，那个时候可以扬威一下了，可以炫耀一下了。人家看哇，令人羡慕。那个时候没有讲什么款式啊，什么标新立异的东西，都是一条普普通通的项链而已。金手镯了可以，有时候也看看人，一来给人看，没人家看到你这样，不会给人看不起。所以我妈妈也曾经讲，我有这个东西，这样的防身，而且人家看到你也不敢看不起你。所以那个时候的观念是这样。你说炫耀也好，你要自己啊、保持自己的颜面也好。
那个时候金有没有好像说不同的质量呢？
也是足金，还有就是比较低的，所以现在是交了91.6% 了，就916了。其实那个时候很低的，应该是我们叫吨金了，吨啊一个黄金的金吨，就美国的吨啊，金吨那个是比较是大概90%左右，掺一点铜啊，78、80这样了。还有一个酒精，酒精说是9成，他们取巧不是这个酒，用这个1、2、3、4、5、6、7、8型那个花码字的酒，长长久久的久，就来说这个里的金是酒精。所以这个3类的黄金，你再低到差不多50%的，我们叫做出拉沙，我不知道我现在的叫什么，就给那些以前那些挪亚，还有那个挪亚带的，我因为黄金100%就只有是99了，不可能100%。那个金是软的，你不可以做什么首饰的，只可以用一条长长的锁链的那个黄金来套在那个颈项上面，所以那个是保值。但是其他的是你掺了一些铜啊，什么东西是比较硬一点的，可以做金牌的，金牌那个比较容易一点。 所以你做一个扣也要硬的劲啊，你不可能用那个所谓竹筋是99%的筋做，所以那个时候还有分类的。那还有潮州人，他们也要标新立异，他们用一些粉红色的粉状去涂抹那些黄金，所以呈现一种好像粉红色的黄金，是标新立异。其实那个含量是一样的，但是人家一看到潮州金，与众不同。
所以也是有潮州的金店是吗？
有，
啊，
那个时候我们在七木街，也是在 South Bridge Road，不过离开那个 Old Chinatown Bridge 不远，那个叫七木街。那个最有名的有光兴、陈美、光兴跟陈美，大马路后来又有三个金店，他们也不叫金铺，因为广东人的店就叫金铺嘛。光兴陈美叫金庄，后来又有宝兴金庄，他们叫斋，他们叫这个宝光斋、丽光斋，还有明光斋，还有几个斋了，反正
金庄还有金店有什么分别吗？有什么不同吗？金庄还有那个金店啊？
没有，这是与众不同了。我就
啊
告诉你，我是潮州人做的啊，我的金一定是很特别的，也许有粉红色的，其实一样的，其实一样的。不过那个时候还是有点帮派观念呢，广东人还是跑回去广东人的金店，潮州人就跑，那些不是斋就是去庄，所以后来就搞到那个时候又有广帮金氏工会，就
啊，
广东人的广帮的人，那个是十几家的，大波小波，他们有一工会去好像定金价啦，不同的，大家不同金价的。那个时候现在就当然是金价要控制了，因为这要控制。以前是我们自己控制多少，反正你来我的金店要买金，你看一看我每两多少钱你去潮州店你有多少钱，那么你最便宜的去买了。那时候很简单的，你的金的定价一两多少钱，跟乘以那个重量就是多少钱，多少钱，然后呢你加那个打金师傅的所谓人工呢，他们人工很便宜的，那个时候他们是5毛1块还是5块钱哦，不得了了5块钱很好赚的，对，就是这样的。当然现在不可能了，现在没有这回事了。现在有这样便宜，打金师傅是什么？
Tell us about the brothel business that your mother was running and how did she come into this trade?
Right. So my mother actually is a foster daughter of a Maze. And Maze, as we all, those of you who are familiar, are your amas, and they come from China. It's a group of ladies that have come from China to find work in Singapore. And they all probably traveled around the 1930s, where we saw a real, influx of, all these ladies coming, mainly from the Guangdong province, and a lot of them from Shunde. My grandmother was one of those ladies who came about 2 years after her own sister. So that's my grand aunt. And they came and settled here. And Mates are known to take a vow of celibacy. They do not marry. The purpose of doing that is really a commitment to ensure that they're committed to themselves and probably to that larger group, that their family as well. That they're very focused. They want to work and really make a make a living and provide for the family back home. And they all really send most, if not I mean, they leave very little money for themselves, but they send everything back home to China, where they can then, help to build houses, provide living for people who are there. So my grandmother came and lived and settled in Singapore. They started off in Chinatown. That's where they congregate, in the Hei Yun Gai in that area, Chung Gang Street, and found work. At that time, Keong was a place with a lot of clan associations, and also sort of trade offices where people actually have meetings and all. So they tend to have, host meeting, entertainment, what they call gong gun, wu gun, in Cantonese, where then they will need chambermaids to sort of clean the places. Or keep them in order, and that's really how they make a living. So the Mazes came. Some of them work for private residences, others work for such gonggun and wuigun. And what they do is that those that work in these places usually get a bit more tips because there's quite a bit of turnover and of gas and all. And that's how she lived there. Then, because the Mazes do not marry, they don't have offsprings, and what they do then is usually at about their early 40s, late 30s, early 40s, they start looking for daughters that they want to adopt. So as a caregiver, as a helper to what they're doing, and that's how my mom came into the household as an 8-year-old who was born in Selangor, but into a very poor family that had too many children and was given up. Given up is a nice way of putting it. I mean, pretty much was sold because it was an exchange of money. And then she left her home, and since then she grew up with my grandmother. Over time, the evolution of the Keong Road from entertainment houses to becoming a brothel was also happening at the same time. And that's how my grandmother, from a chambermaid, eventually managed a brothel. And when she passed away, it was passed on to my mother. Throughout those years, when my grandmother was alive, my mother was sort of like a helper to her.
I wonder if there's a term, right, for the entertainment house. I mean, that's the term you coined in your book. I wonder what the locals would have called it.
I think in the earlier days, they called it. I mean, when you have all the Wugun and Gonggun, where people actually have meetings and all, and then eventually, if they started having young songsters that sing and entertain, we call them the Pei Pa Zai. Then we started calling some of these entertainment houses Pei Pa Gun, because that's where they operate, right? The Pei Pa Zai come and sing and operate, and some of them is Pei Pa Gun, where the Pei Pa Zai are stationed there and people go there for them. So I think that there's a variety of different modes of operation. And eventually when it got evolved into really brothels, I mean, the very not so savory word that people called it is gai dao, literally.
Gai dao, what does that mean?
Gai dao means well it's like where you keep the chickens.
Chicken,
yes.
right. And
So
dao,
gai dao.
what does dao mean?
Dao really means it's like a colloquial way of saying it's a space where people gather.
Okay. Do you think there was ever any sexual things going on in the entertainment house?
Not when. So I think in the early, when someone books a Pei Pa Zai for entertainment, she comes in and sings and performs, entertains that way, have a few drinks, maybe eat a little with the group of people around the table. And she might then leave that entertainment session and go to other houses that she's been booked. Whether she comes back or not depends on the arrangement. And actually, these entertainment houses would have rooms, and not all Pei Pa Zai actually sell their bodies. Some do, some don't. Some only entertain regular customers. And I think so. It's also upon them knowing the customers as a regular person, then they would eventually sort of have sexual transactions, and probably over after really after a while. It's not something that happens upfront.
You personally know one or two of these Pei Pa Zai, right? When they were older,
Yes.
I mean, how were their what were they doing, or how did they have sexual relations, or even kind of relationships with the businessmen who came?
Yes, I
Mm.
mean they did. I know one who now she's passed away. She then of course became one of the aunties that is one of my mom's good friends, and yeah, so they actually will have sexual relationships. And then that's how I described it earlier, earlier about how it's over time. It's not the immediate, sex is not the first thing on their minds. When people sort of book a pay bazai. Um, and over time they might even become mistresses of these their businessman clientele, and then they sort of retire from being a paper zai.
Yeah, I mean, I find it hard to believe if the men are just going there to listen to music, right?
Yeah, so it's actually post meeting entertainment
Mm.
over food and drinks with your ladies singing, and they're all 16 to 20, and I mean naturally they are attracted to these ladies, right? But it is also depending on the the sex of the ladies, whether they want to sell sex. I think they do have a certain control, uh or rather it is maybe almost like it's a process. They don't do it at the beginning. They are already open to selling sex, but that's also how they position themselves, where they become more desirable, and hence some of these hong pai aku, after the paper side, the hong pai, when they call them aku, that's when actually I think the sex it's a lot stronger, the whole connotation. When you're called aku, hong pai aku, really you would be offering some sort of sex service. And then subsequently, when it was all brothels, I mean, these ladies were called that gula.
When was it that you were born in Chinatown, and which part of Chinatown?
I was born in 1952, and it was in a small clinic, according to my mom, somewhere along Kampong Baru Road. I think that particular shop house building is still there, but the clinic is no longer there. And I grew up in Craig Road, actually 29 Craig Road. Unfortunately, that row of so-called pre-war houses were all demolished, and I think one of the reasons basically is because that row of houses don't have the proper flush toilets. It's all using night soil, those buckets, So I guess the easiest way is to demolish it and build something new.
So, Craig Road. How long did your parents live there?
I think it was after the war. Before that, I think you probably heard from my mom. She was staying somewhere in Bukit Ho Swee.
That's right.
Yeah, and I think when she got married, she moved out first to the Great World, the Great World Amusement Park. Next to it, there's some buildings there, and then later, I think because she and her mom has friends, and one of them is the landlady of the Craig Road, and so I think they were kind of invited to stay there. So I grew up there until when I was in primary 6. When I moved to the most expensive HDB, unknown to me then, at Cantonment Road.
Did your childhood revolve around the area, the Craig Road area?
Yeah, because I think until we shifted to Cantonment Road, especially in early days, we probably are too poor to go to kindergarten, right? And my mother is illiterate, so it's more or less at least she knows that we have to go to school, right? When we're in the primary. So our days before primary school was almost very carefree, right? Sometimes my mom has to work to bring in additional income, and we will hop across the road to Duxton Plainside, and as I told you, there's this shop who is kind of related to the landlady as well. She makes all those swords, and then they have all those old comics that I think for 5 cents you get to read. And we try to keep our busybody in a way to make ourselves useful. So if there's some work that needs to be done in terms of polishing the swords, we do it. And then one of their uncle is what do you call it, accountant. That means he collects all the papers from all the different companies to do the compiling. And of course, we are the one that try to sit down there and help them to sort those receipts and things out, right? Of course, it's all free labor lah.
Did y'all go like further into Chinatown sometimes?
When we were younger, on our own, not really,
Mm.
right? Because we are also aware of the turfs, you know, and within where we live in Craig Road and Duxton Road, I suppose we are the residents, so we don't get bothered by these people. In fact, they kind of take care of us. But once you go into Keong Road, that's another turf. You go further down in the Chinatown, that's probably another turf. But we are not involved, so we do not know much. I was only accosted once, I think, when we went to the Yankee swimming pool to swim. And then this young guy will come in and say, what number you play, you know, in Hokkien, you know.
Mm.
Right? I mean, he's probably much, much younger than us. But of course, we know the distance away behind them were all the big brothers, right? And you say, no, we don't play any number, you know? And they left us alone. Yeah, so those are days. But whenever there's a festivals, I will accompany my mom to the market in the Cantonese Chinatown, right? In the streets, Terengganu streets, Smith streets, where you can get more things, right? The usual day we'll go to Nasi Street, where there's a small wet market, but it's no more there. What you see now there is the Tanjung Pagar Plaza there, but it used to be a small market, and it's good enough for us to buy some things. And because we went there almost every day to shop. The storeholders kind of know me, so when my mom is busy, I'll just go there and buy. You know, I remember, you know, for a catty of cockles, it's like 5 cents, you know, right? And even when you buy pork, they know us enough that they will not cheat us. I know we call it kato us. But on festive days, if you want better range, then we go to the Cantonese Chinatown. They promise a wider range from live poultry to fish to vegetables. And if we need something that's closer to the Hokkien tradition, then we will walk further to Keong. And that's what they call it outside the Gambler's Den, which is actually along China Street area. China Street, Nankin Street, that's where you find all the Hokkien products like pastries, the Hokkien pastries, and even popiah pay and all the skins of popiah are all around the area.
Was there a gambling den there or gambling area there?
So we only heard of Keong, but we never really went to search, is there a Keong there? But my grandfather used to also be active in the Kuliking. And that Kuliking is in Nankin Street. I mean, in those days, he was from Tong An, Tang Hoa. So Tang Hoa people are usually, in a way, related. I mean, their work and business are related to the Tongkangs, to the boats. So he was kind of a supervisor for one boat. And so they will have the gathering in the Kuliking in Nankin Street. Of course, you know, like typical Kuliking, because that's the connection back to the home in China, because each Kuliking usually is linked either to a district or a small village. So that's where they would have a small shrine, right, and dedicated to the gods that they pray back in China. And today, that particular shrine has evolved into the Ho Tiong Temple in Toa Payoh.